Natural disasters such as earthquakes, typhoons, and torrential rains can cause enormous damage to human life and social life. Japan, in particular, is known as a country that suffers a lot of damage compared to other countries and is sometimes referred to as a disaster-prone country. One thing we all know is that the Japanese have been living side by side with disasters from a long time. I really like a quote from Teraki Terada that says, "Natural disasters arise when we forget about them." Well, in recent years, large-scale disasters have occurred almost every year in Japan, so much so that the Japanese hardly have time to forget. And I was following the news about the tsunami that affected Japan, and a question arose: why does Japan suffer so many disasters? Well, if you like things about Japan like I do, I think you will find the things I'm going to talk about here in this video very interesting. As is well known, Japan has many conditions susceptible to natural disasters. The Earth's surface is made up of rocky plates called tectonic plates. The Japanese archipelago that forms Japan is made up of hundreds of islands, the five main ones being Honshu, Shikoku, Kyushu, Hokkaido, and Saharin. Basically, there are four plates: the North American plate, the Eurasian plate, the Pacific plate, and the Philippine Sea plate. These plates collide. No other place in the world has so many plates competing against each other. And I believe that for this reason, earthquakes and volcanic activity are becoming more active in Japan. One thing I read is that even though Japan's land area represents approximately 0.25% of the world's land area, more than 20% of the world's earthquakes occur in Japan. That's very worrying. I believe that both people living in Japan and especially tourists should be aware that Japan is a country prone to disasters. And I even recommend that if you want to go to Japan, it's important to get the local government websites to find out what kind of disasters can happen in that region so that you and your family can prepare for the risks. Anyway, Japan is prone to many earthquakes because it is located in a place where the plates that cause earthquakes collide, making Japan by far the most earthquake-prone country in the world. Furthermore, from what I researched, there are approximately 111 volcanoes in Japan with the potential to erupt, and 10% of all volcanoes in the world are located in Japan. There are many volcanoes in places where earthquakes are likely to occur. Even if we understand the mechanism by which plate movement causes earthquakes, unfortunately we cannot prevent earthquakes or predict with 100% accuracy when they will occur. I think that for people who live in Japan, where earthquakes occur frequently, it is very important to cooperate with the entire population daily and raise the awareness about earthquake disaster prevention. And speaking of earthquakes of magnitude 6.0 or greater occurred 1,629 times around the world between 2004 and 2013, of which 302 occurred in Japan. That's surreal. Several large earthquakes are also predicted to occur in the future. The Japanese government has announced the probability of being hit by an earthquake of magnitude 6 or greater within the next 30 years, and the number is extremely high, over 26% across most of the Pacific coast and even over 80% in some cities. The risk of large earthquakes happening constantly over the next few years is extremely high, and I think this cannot be ignored by Japanese companies. Well, when this type of damage happens in a city or an entire country, we know that the population suffers from it. and it is also a huge loss. To give you an idea, the damage in the event of an earthquake directly hitting the Tokyo metropolitan area is approximately 47 trillion yen in direct damage to buildings and approximately 48 trillion yen in damage in more remote areas. Think about trillions of yen, which is estimated to be approximately 95 trillion yen. Man, that's a lot of money. And in lifelines are also severely damaged. For example, when a large-scale earthquake occurred in one of Japan's main Tokyo-type cities, immediately after the disaster, around 50% of Tokyo's neighborhoods lose power and the situation remains unstable for more than a week. Furthermore, 90% of landlines and cell phones are restricted from communication for more than a day. In terms of transportation, subways could be suspended for a week, and private railways and conventional lines could be suspended for about a month. It usually takes at least a day or two to relieve routes on the main roads. For example, I keep thinking about the families who are directly affected by these disasters. When this kind of disasters happen, it must be very complicated for these families to have to deal with the whole situation. So, like I said, each plate is about 200 kilometers thick, if I'm not mistaken. The layer is divided into blocks, which slowly move a few centimeters per year. Earthquakes occur when plates push against each other or jump over their boundaries, or when plates move internally. And as you now know, Japan has 4 of these plates, which is why many earthquakes occur. If the plates continue to press against each other, their surfaces will crack and eventually become misaligned, and this is where things get tricky. This displacement is called faulting, and faults that are likely to remain active in the future are called active faults. Earthquakes occur when this active fault moves up and down. Japan has about 2,000 active faults, so an earthquake can occur at any time and anywhere in Japan. From what I researched, there are more than 1,100 earthquakes in Japan that can be felt by human body each year, which means that 3 or 4 earthquakes occur every day somewhere in the country. Furthermore, from late summer and autumn, several typhoons hit Japan every year, causing various types of damage to the archipelago. For this reason, and this is a sad thing to say, but anyone living in Japan has an inseparable connection with disasters. Therefore, with all this information, we can conclude that there are so many natural disasters in Japan for 4 reasons. The first is the location of Japan. Japan is located in an area with many plates, which means the area is susceptible to earthquakes and volcanic activity due to the first plate movement, which increases the number of earthquakes. The second reason is weather conditions. The weather around Japan is also related to the number of disasters. Japan belongs to the Asian monsoon climate region, and although the Asian monsoon climate brings abundant water and greatly benefits agriculture, it also often causes flood damage due to heavy rain. The third reason would be the topography of Japan. Japan has the advantage of being blessed with a rich natural environment. However, due to the country's small land area, the mountain slopes are steep and rugged, making them prone to collapse due to heavy rain. And the fourth reason Japan has so many natural disasters is its urban structure. To make effective use of its limited land area, Japan responded to the population growth by artificially creating mountains and reclaiming coastlines. As a result, cities were built adjacent to rivers, coasts, mountains, etc. And it becomes common to live in a close contact with disasters. Therefore, in the event of a large-scale disaster, unimaginable damage could occur. Well, If Japan's location, if the reason why so many natural disasters, we must assume that natural disasters like earthquakes and typhoons will occur in the future. In recent years, in addition to earthquakes and typhoons, damage caused by floods and heavy rains has also increased. You should be aware that no matter where you are in Japan, there is a risk of some type of disasters. Well, in this video I shared with you a little about the reasons why Japan is such a prone country to natural disasters. Just remember that. I'm no expert on this subject. If you know any important information that I didn't bring here in this video, write it here in the comments and I will read it. Don't forget to leave a like and get ready for the next video.